Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the weekly Wednesday for the Financial Freedom newsletter, where every week, every Wednesday, we delve into something inspirational, motivational, something excerpt taken from the Financial Freedom weekly newsletter. Wherever you are, if you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, Google, be sure to click the like, subscribe, share, comment. And without ado, let's get into the show.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom podcast. I'm really excited about today's guest, Dr. Kristine Goins. She's a board certified psychiatrist, but she's also a digital nomad. So we're going to talk about all the different types of freedom: time, financial, location, emotional freedom. And I'm really excited to have her on the show. Kristine, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know you're in Buenos Aires. It's a very popular spot for digital nomads. So talk about your story, your background. You're doing things quite unconventionally, or actually I should say more conventional these days, but tell us more.
So it began by me really having a passion for travel. That began when I was a teenager. I always wanted to be a doctor since I was 8. So it was always trying to intertwine these two different passions. And for many of us as physicians, we know that once we decide that we're going to become a doctor, it many times takes up a chunk of our time, life, resources, sometimes, most times to the exclusion of everything else. So as I was trying to intertwine these during training, you have that little break after the first year of med school. I went off to Costa Rica to live with a family there and learn medical Spanish and fellowship. I took a month off and went to Nepal to a Tibetan Buddhist monastery and learned about mindfulness and meditation. And during all of these experiences, I would get that little taste of, okay, this was the life that I really, really wanted to have. How do I blend this? And what I started to do while I was in training still was develop these philosophies or practices that now looking back, I realized were really foundational to me being able to become a digital nomad as a physician. And one of them was practicing essentialism. So I really started delving into what was most important in my life. How did I want to design my life? What were my greatest values? And they were freedom and peace of mind. And then, like most people, I just kind of continued along the path that's led out for me and became an attending. While I was an attending in my early years, I noticed that although I was doing all the things that I said I really wanted to do, I was a psychiatrist working in a specialty that I love. I was working with the communities I always wanted to work with since childhood. I had amazing colleagues. And the more that I took on and the more that I did, the more exhausted I felt, the more burnt out I was, to the point that every system in my body was affected. I had chest pains, I had neurological issues, I had twitches all over my body. I ended up in a neurologist's office in the first 5 minutes of the appointment. He just stopped me. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm just so stressed with work. And he just stopped. Do you want Lexapro? And it was like that moment that I was like, okay, this is time. I need to do something different. And so I, left that appointment and just decided, hey, I'm going to go out and do the very thing that I've been afraid to do, which was just design a different lifestyle, the lifestyle that I actually wanted as a physician. And so I had developed this 5-year master plan that I was going to, embark on to leave the country. And what also helped push me in that direction was during quarantine, both of my grandmothers died. And it was what I needed to really recognize that time wasn't a commodity that I was going to be able to get back. And so I changed my 5-year plan to a 5-month plan and booked a one-way ticket to Colombia.
Wow. Yeah, that's I love this story because it's becoming more of a frequent story that you hear, especially after COVID, and just people realizing that there's other ways and there's more meaning to life think especially millennials and Gen Z, their values are a little bit different, and their value, what you're talking about, is their value, their time and their freedom and their ability. So one thing is talking about, because a lot of doctors listening on this, they want to do what you're doing. They want this location and time freedom. So talk about a little bit about how you incorporate. I love how you incorporated your values into your life, and you design your ideal career in life, because you're still treating patients and you're still doing consulting. So talk about that.
Yeah. I think that piece is really essential. Taking the time, it takes some stepping back and getting really clear, spending time in silence, even away from everyone that you know, to be able to decide what is most important. For me, it was freedom and peace of mind, and freedom in 4 different areas. It was time, financial, location, and mindset, because I knew that if I could wrap my mind around it, if I had the right thought patterns, and if I could get rid of my self-limiting thoughts, I was unstoppable. I could do anything. And I wanted to have peace while doing it. I didn't want to do all of these things and, feel exhausted and, be in a constant state of anxiety. And so once I figured out that freedom and peace of mind were my greatest values, and taking the time to do that, from there, I could just build. It made all my other decisions a lot easier. I could consistently make decisions that were in alignment with those 2 values. And so for me, when I left, I decided I want to work 2 days a week. I don't want to have a life that I need to take vacations from. I don't want to have a life that I need to retire from. I could do what I'm doing now till forever, and I would be perfectly happy doing it. And so that's the type of life that I wanted to design for myself. And so I would say, taking the time to have that clarity on what's most important for you, and then committing to it. Because as soon as you commit to something, that's when everything kind of comes up, like the fear of change and what people are going to say, and the fear of both failure, but also success. Like, what is my life going to look like if it's as big as I, dream? But it's being able to walk through that, and having the courage and the bravery to still move ahead anyway, and create a plan to do it.
Yeah, I love that. Talk about, because a lot of doctors, they feel trapped, and they feel stuck, and they feel like they don't have any choices or options. But actually, I was talking to one of my friends. She's also a career coach. She's like, you're not trapped. You can choose it. There's consequences but you're not trapped. You can choose to opt into the system or not. So talk to physicians that are listening to this.
I think that it's a really common thought. I think the practice of medicine and the industry really helps to kind of box our minds into this idea that we're really one-dimensional. But when we really take account of the skills, the talents, the life experience, the medical expertise, when we put all of that together, we have these incredible relation of skill set and attributes that allow us to be dynamic and helpful in many different industries, not just in healthcare. So whether it's coaching, whether it's consulting, whether you want to do something that's a combination even outside of medicine, something that's non-clinical, whether it's real estate, whether it is expert witness, whether, there's so many different things that you can do. And there's a combination of things that you can do that will lead you to a completely different lifestyle. So
yeah.
I think it's about opening up our minds and considering not only what's possible for us to do, but I always say what you actually want to do. Because I do see a lot of physicians even now kind of branching out, but they tell me that they're making more money, but they don't have more time. Or that they feel obligated to do some kind of work, but they're not energized. So I think it's really also being in alignment with your values and goals.
Yeah. And talk about technology, because especially after COVID, with Zoom and, StreamYard, how easy it is, especially for telehealth and telepsychiatry consulting. Now you don't have to meet face to face. You can, we have this interface. So talk about how technologies enable freedom, and you're able to do work from other locations and at your own pace and time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's been a complete game changer in the sense that other industries and in a broader way, people have been bought into it, because it's not that it didn't exist before. And I knew different types of not just psychiatrists, but different types of doctors who 10 years plus before were already utilizing, aspects of telemedicine. But I think what quarantine and COVID, all of that allowed is for us to come to a place where we had to do it, so people could actually see, like, this is actually not that bad. Like, and for many of, especially the younger generations, because I work, a lot with kids and adolescents, they're like, no, I prefer this, Dr. Goins. Like, I don't want to have to leave my house. And for us to be able to, even as providers, like, tap into the fact that not only does it give, our patients or the clients that we're working with that extra time, freedom, and that flexibility, right, to connect with us in a way that is better for them, but also for us to get a deeper, more insight into their life. Like, for kiddos, now I can see what posters they have in their room. And I'm like, wait, what is that you have in the refrigerator? Like, why are you drinking that? It's this other aspect of being able to see someone's pets and dogs and, being able to tap in with someone in a way that we could never do before. So I think it's opened up a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. And I love this. And basically creating your life and your values. One thing I wanted to talk about is because I was talking with another client beforehand, and we were talking about, just LinkedIn, social media, one of the fastest way to grow a professional brand. And a lot of physicians aren't on it, because a lot of the, ramifications. Talk about how, like, for example, physician training, to me, when I look back, it's quite antiquated. These different mindsets among the younger generation. They value time and quality time and experiences, and it's not just this. It's not just basically your whole life is, your income or what hospital or what program, all of that. So talk about how changing values between the generations are contributing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's creating this interesting dynamic. Many of the, I talked to some physicians who are like a generation or so older than me, and they say, like, wow, like, when we were where you were, we just kept our head down and we just did what we were told. And just to see you decide to make this change, 3 years into your attending life is just like, what are you guys doing? But I think at the same time, they're also inspired because we're choosing to live life a different way. And even like the clients that I work with, they're not waiting. They're medical students, they're residents. They're like, I don't even want to begin going down that road. Yeah. I already sense burnout here. Like, how can I start, even in my training, to think about and design a life that is in alignment with what I really want, even when I'm considering like student loan debt and all of these other things that kept many of us bound and feeling stuck. Like, how can I think differently about this? What are strategies that I can use to begin to separate myself from this roadmap that was just given to me?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And like more of the younger generation, they're saving earlier. They're really seriously considering how much debt to take out. They're reading outside of their medical textbooks, real estate, stocks, investing, and, all of these different growing a business, side income hustles, all of that. How did you handle? Because I know, social pressure is really high in medicine. We talked about just keeping your head down and just kind of heard when people, like, they say, are you crazy? Or, what are you doing? You're throwing your life away. You're throwing your best earning years away. How did you address that? How did you, block it out? How did you handle it?
I had to recognize that it's never really what anyone else is saying to me that really would get to me. It's what I believed about myself. It was really if someone says something to you that you don't believe, it really doesn't touch you. Like, it really doesn't matter. They're like, you have purple hair, and you're like, I don't care. But when someone says something to you and it really affects you on a deep level, it's because you believe it. So I really had to check my own self-limiting thoughts. Like, did I believe that this was true? And, in the beginning, there was a lot of fear around that, but I did the math, and I realized that becoming a digital nomad was going to fast track, my financial freedom more than staying where I was, in academia and living in a major city in the US. This was a path that was going to lead me to where I was trying to go even faster, but at the same time was going to allow me to have more time and greater experiences and financial freedom, things that I would never be able to achieve by staying where I was and listening to the same people who were feeding me their doubts.
It was interesting because I did what you did in September of 2008, right after Lehman collapsed. I was like, I can't take this anymore. CEOs getting rich off, the taxpayers and just corporate greed. And then I actually had to lock myself. I had to isolate myself and mentally prepare myself anytime I came across these negative thoughts, just become aware and just know where they're coming from and just kind of block it out, tune it out. And, now, haters, whatever, that it just does not faze me. So it's basically you get this tolerance of that. So, yeah, anytime you do against the grain, people are going to be questioning you and just kind of doubting you. So really interesting conversation. So tell people how to contact you, follow you, check you out. I know you're in Buenos Aires. Are you gonna base there? Or I know Colombia is also a very popular place for digital nomads in Southeast Asia. So what are your thoughts?
For sure. I've been here for a few months, but I usually switch countries every few months. And I have lived in Colombia. It's amazing. I love living there too. My next place, I'm going to go to the US for a month for a bunch of medical conferences. But after that, I'm going to be in Peru for a few months. So that'll be my next home. But if someone is looking for me, they can find me at my website at thenomadmd.com. I'm on Instagram at the Nomad MDs, and I'm also on Facebook at the Nomad MD.
Yeah, awesome. And it's great to see so many physicians taking control of their lives, kind of living on their values and being inspiration for the physician community. Dr. Goins, thanks so much for coming on, sharing your story, sharing your ideas, your thoughts. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you really enjoyed that wonderful, inspirational, motivational piece. Again, wherever you are listening, if you liked it, be sure to comment, share, subscribe. We're on everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Audible. And without much ado, be sure to thank this show's sponsors, and we'll see you next week.